Hello, I'm Roy Underhill. Welcome back to the Woodwright shop. We're here on the west coast of Ireland in County Clare. These are the cliffs of Moher. That's O'Brien's Tower atop it. And the next parish west, as they say, beyond the Aran Islands, is 3,000 miles away in America, where so many millions of our people claim their heritage back to this Emerald Isle. Well, we're going to be taking a look at the Irish heritage in woodworking, this time here in the Woodwright shop.
Major funding for the Woodwright shop is provided by
State Farm Insurance, keeping our promise of protection to generation after generation. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Like many folks, you may think of Ireland as a green but treeless land. And indeed, many of the great oaks that once covered the island were cut by Henry VIII to build the great warships that he needed to defend England and the British Isles against the Spanish Armada, part of which made it around Ireland all the way to a place just south of here called Spanish Point. But as we'll see, the Irish tradition in woodworking is both ancient and rich. Now that rocky coastal region of Ireland forms the rim of a great bowl within which you have land much like this, hills and lakes and bogs. Now believe me, if I were to take one step over here to my left, I'd go in up to here in water, peat and muck. Now as tough as this is, of course, for people to live here to get about, it also is a protection against invaders. And this Iron Age village is protected by the water. This is called a crannog. It's built out in the lake, and this bridge would have been a luxury. You would probably have made it by some causeway or had to go out here in a dugout canoe or a skin-covered boat. Now, if there were any old Celts still about, they'd be able to tell us how they built their crannog.
Crannog is the name of it! And who are you, huh?
I have just come
Have you come here to steal my women, huh?
No.
But if you have, get out of here now!
I've just come to study woodworking
What?
here.
Mind my phone!
Oh, sorry, I'm knocked over your stool. I'm sorry. I've come to study how you
Study
do
what?
your woodworking and how you built your island, your
How we built this island.
Yes.
A crannog.
Crannog.
Well, what we did was,
Yes.
we'd select the best site in the lake first, the shallow part of the lake, though not too shallow, mind. Otherwise, people that like you could simply wade across.
I see. All right.
What we did then was, we'd mark out the shape of the island by driving great big tree trunks down into the lake bed, all around in the shape of the circle.
I see.
Then we'd fill up that circle with rocks, stones, brushwood, old bones, gotten from the bodies of our killed enemies, and anything else we could find until we had the level up above the water. Then we'd smooth it off with loads of gravel, and then use clay or sand to get that nice, smooth finish.
Very nice. And it drains. And I understand you can actually build a fire here in your home. You're building a turf fire. This is peat, we say.
That's turf, and put it back in the fire where it belongs.
Sorry, but it's obviously wet when you dig it up. You have to dry it before you're able
That's right. We dig it up from the bog, and then we dry it for at least a year.
And so you can
So
cook.
that you can burn it and cook, exactly.
I see. And you have fine timber, though. I see you have good trees here.
Yes, indeed. We have all sorts of trees. You name it, we have it.
What do you have
Hazel,
here?
ash, oak, you name it, we have it. But it's staying here, man.
I see. All
You
right.
can look at it, but you can't touch it.
Well, how about your house? I understand
My
you
house?
have built. Yes, your house
Keep
here.
away from my house.
Well, I just wanted to know how is it constructed?
How is it constructed?
Yes.
The walls are made the same way as the perimeter fence, only that we've used mud and clay daubed onto the sides, mixed with straw and hair, taken from our enemies.
All right, I see.
The roof?
Yes.
You want to know about the roof?
Yes, please.
Well, then I'll tell you. We used reeds taken from the Shannon estuary.
I see. So the surrounding area just gives you really everything you need.
Gives us everything we need.
Aye, that's
And we
splendid.
don't need the like of you coming
Well,
in
I just
here
wanted to say thank you.
asking silly questions.
I just wanted to thank
Get out of it!
thank you.
Get out of it! On!
Now, Quavon the Celt and his reconstructed late Bronze Age, early Iron Age village are part of the Craganoan project, just outside of Shannon in County Clare. And as accessible and entertaining as they try to make early Irish history, it's all based on extensive and top-notch archaeological research. And it's not just the material culture of Ireland that they're hoping to preserve here, it's also the biological heritage. These are Sowie sheep. These are the oldest sheep in the world. And in fact, they're not goats at all. They look like goats, but they are sheep. And in fact, they are so old that you don't get the wool by shearing them. You get it by pulling it off, by plucking it off, or following about to get the wool that they have naturally shed. And they are, of course, part of the web of life that's preserved as part of the history of early Ireland. 2,000 years ago, the climate in Ireland was even wetter than it is now, and that left much of the countryside very difficult to traverse. Well, that meant, of course, you had to build roads, and the fact that you were building these roads on this stuff, this acidic peat soil, led to the remarkable preservation that we have right here. This is an oak plank road, 2,000 years old, and you see one of the pegs here holding the oak planks to the alder runners that stretch underneath the road. And when this was excavated, they were able to look at the tree rings in these oak planks and determine that this road was built of trees cut in the spring of 148 BC. And here it is, preserved in the peat, a road 2,000 years old, still taking traffic today. Now, bogs are not the only water you have to cross in Ireland. Of course, there is the great water itself. And here to tell us about how you do it is none other than Saint Briga herself. Saint Briga.
Well, that's right, Roy. As you have said, my name is Saint Briga, and my brother was a very famous man. Do you know who he was?
Let me guess. Was it Saint Brendan,
The
perhaps?
very man, Nave Brendan, sometimes called Brendan the Alligator.
No.
Oh, I mean, Brendan the Navigator. Yes, that's right. And Saint Brendan, years and years ago, sailed all the way across to America in a boat just like this.
Was this his boat itself?
No, this was not his boat. This boat was built in 1975 by the English adventurer Tim Severn. And using information in an old manuscript called the Navigatio Sancti Brendani Abatus, can you spell that?
No, I don't think I can.
No, I didn't think that you could. Using information from the Navigatio Sancti Brendani Abatus, Tim Severn built his boat the exact same way.
Well, could you tell me, how is it built by the Navigatio?
Indeed, I could. The double gunnel here is made of oak.
Ah.
The formers, which are running this way, are made from ash.
Ah.
The stringers are lashed to the formers with leather thongs, which, if laid end to end, would stretch for 2 miles, gaw mila.
My, that's a lot of cow.
That is a lot of cow and a lot of hard work. Now, over here, 49 leather ox hides were stitched in place over the hull, using 23 miles of hand-twisted twine made from thread, horsehair, and black wax.
Oh, my. And then to waterproof it?
To waterproof it, wool grease was smeared over the entire vessel to preserve it from the rotting effects of the ishka, the rotting effects of the water.
I see. All right, now, and this ship actually made it. How did it perform in the ocean under the test?
It performed very well indeed. On the 14th of May, 1976, Tim and his crew of 4 set sail from Dingle, Igunde Kiri. They used the same route that Saint Brendan, my brother, had used 1,400 years ago. The island hopping route described in the Navigatio.
Oh, so it worked perfectly then?
It worked very well. Mind you, they did run into a little bit of trouble. During their voyage between Greenland and Newfoundland in Canada, they ran into some pack ice which had broken up earlier than usual. The boat got wedged between 2 huge ice floes, one of which managed to bore a hole in the port side of the boat. So the 2 strongest men on board, you would have been a bit of a help there now, Roy, had to lean over the edge of the boat and stitch on a patch. It took 4 hours in the freezing cold to mend the boat.
But using the old materials, they were able to repair it very easily.
Using the old materials, they were able to repair this very easily. And, as Tim Severn pointed out in a book which he wrote after his return, that it was the older materials which lasted the pace of the voyage, and some of the more obvious 20th century materials were showing signs of wear and tear.
So 6th century ways are ever the best.
Exactly,
for the
exactly.
old
My
Irish.
brother knew what he was doing 1,400 years ago, I can tell you.
Indeed. Oh, it looks like the wind
Oh,
is
Lord,
starting
it's
to
a
come
storm
up.
coming. Roy, quickly
Well,
grab
we
onto
better
one of those
man the
oars there.
oars here, I think.
Merciful
Oh,
Lord,
safe.
what are we going to do? We're going to be
Look
drowned.
out. Oh! Well, lest you think that boat building tradition exists only in museums, we're here on Kilrush Creek, and here are two curraghs. These are three-man rowing boats, fabric covered, and they were made by three generations of woodworkers, of boat builders here. First, I know Blunny, sir, good to see you, and James Madigan, good to see you. All right, now this is your boat, James.
That's correct, yeah.
This is and it follows after the one you made, sir, the
That's right.
blue one here.
Yes.
Now, how are they different? I see they're both the same, but they're different.
The one over is made for fishing,
And-
and this one is made for racing. But they have the same quality, like same design.
I see.
Yes.
How do you get the shapes, the curves to the
Well,
wood?
first of all, when you have the frames made together, you make the molds for your depth.
Oh, and that's the
yeah.
outer part, all
Yeah.
right?
And then when you have the molds on, you turn it upside down, up on the ribs to the depth of the mold.
And then the long strakes go on
Yeah,
next?
that goes on the last, yes.
And I see that they're nailed and the nails are clenched over.
They're
That's
all
how you-
copper nail fastened, yes.
I see. So you both use the same tradition. And what kind of wood are they made from?
The ribs is made of oak,
I see. Both out of
and the frames are made of deal.
oak and deal. Now, when you made your boat, James, how did you make it different?
I made her a couple of feet longer than the traditional fishing boat, and made it a little bit narrower and deeper.
I see.
You know.
And does that make it better? Because yours is for racing, isn't that
That's
right? With your,
That's
your
right,
team?
yeah. Yeah, and the bow is a lot lower than a fishing cork.
Would it be more tippy this way?
Oh yeah, she's very, very rocky. You know.
I see. Well, would you take this one out in the ocean?
I would, yeah. I've
you
taken
could,
those.
Now, I see one thing about them that makes them seaworthy, I expect, is the way the bow is scarfed
Yes.
on, up at an angle.
That's right.
What does that do for you?
It goes over the sea. Goes over the sea and the swell.
So if the waves are
Yes.
big,
Because the wood is square, going against the sea to come in over the stern. Yes.
I see. So it keeps it. Now, for racing, you don't need such a high kick, though.
No.
That's right. Yeah. I kept it lower for less wind resistance. You know. That's
Good thinking. Good thinking there. And I see they have a double frame, and that's also rises it up, and it has a
Yeah.
double frame supported on these little carved pieces here. In your case, and you've made them out of board, I see, on your boat.
Yes.
Yes. And then the covering again. What is the covering?
canvas. It's tarred inside and outside. Yeah.
Pitch and tar.
Pitch and tar.
Yeah.
All right, and this is the tradition, I guess. Originally, they would have been skins. Is that right?
Yeah, they used to make them out of rawhide, just like the St. Brendan.
I see, lashed, but you've gone to using copper nails.
Yes.
I see. Well, they're splendid boats. I'm really. How do you feel about your grandson carrying on the boat building tradition
Great.
here?
Great.
Yeah.
It's great to see it, yes.
Good. But it's not a business, is it now?
No, it's just a hobby.
Any people building carach now?
Yeah, there's still a lot of people around the west coast of Ireland doing it. Yeah.
I see. And you were working here on an oar. That's going to be an oar for your racing there?
That's right.
Well, very
Yeah.
good. Well, listen, you've both got winners. So I'll congratulate you both here.
Okay, thank you.
And say goodbye. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye. Oh, now. All right. And the Irish have always been grand travelers, and not just by boat. For centuries, those who were dispossessed of the land would travel about the roads in caravans, much like this one preserved here at the Bunratty Folk Park. Now, these folks would work at tinsmithing, called tinkering, or knife sharpening, and other crafts. But these are not gypsies. These are distinctly Irish folk who developed their own culture. And you can see inside, though, the connection to the curragh and the rest of Irish culture. You can see the construction of ribs and long strakes is just like an overturned boat. Now, much like the roof of that caravan or an overturned curragh, this roof on this small Irish farmhouse is also rounded to help it weather the storms of the Atlantic. And you can see it's a straw thatched roof, further held by tarred ropes suspending these rocks. Now, very much like the caravan, it also is associated with animals, except in the case of the caravan, the animals stay on the outside. And here, the animals are on the inside, or at least they're on one side of the inside. This is a byre dwelling, the home of poor farmers, and this is the side where the cattle would stay. Here in their straw, and they could keep warm during the winter and keep you warm during the winter. And here's the manure trough that separated their area from the human area, where the humans could get additional warmth from the peat fire over here in the whitewashed stone walls. Now, look at the roof framing here. This is marvelous. You can see how there's no peak to these rafters. They've been truncated to make a rounded roof, just like we had on that caravan, and very much like the framing of a curragh. Instead of, however, cutting through the waters of the North Atlantic, this particular craft would stay on its hilltop, and the storms of the Atlantic would cut a current overhead while you stayed snug and warm inside. Now, I mentioned the Atlantic. There's a lot of trade, of course, all up and down the Atlantic. And this is a wonderful little discovery here. I'd never noticed this before. The last time I saw a chair framed like this was in New Mexico. Do you see how the tenons come all the way through and show on the far side there? Well, that is a characteristic of Moorish Spanish construction. And you see these kind of chairs all over this part of Ireland. In fact, Galway City to the north has a tremendous amount of Spanish influence. So you can see Ireland's not just an island unto itself, instead is part of a great cultural community that went all the way up and down the Atlantic shores. Well, a house is not much of a house without a roof, is it? We're going to see how to do a thatched roof. In fact, we'll be repairing a thatched roof. And Thatcher is lucky if he's working by a source of water, because it keeps the hazel rods good, wet, and flexible. We also need to have our reed. We're working here on rethatching a little water-operated mill. So we've got our reed, we've got our spars. All we need is a thatcher, and here he is. This is Jerry Tracy. Whoa, Jerry.
Are you all right? Hello.
You have a...
I'll take these from you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
I see I've learned the first skill of your trade is making it up the ladder.
That is right, yeah.
Yes. All right.
Anyway.
What have you got here? This is reed?
This is reed, yeah. We use reed mostly in most of the houses. I use reed because it lasts about 15 years, which is very good.
I see. So you get it. First,
we also use rushes.
Rushes?
Straw.
And
but
straw.
This is much better because it lasts so long.
So you do only, all right.
You just take away this and
Take
you just
the bundles
touch it
here.
off.
All right, so we're working on top of a layer of old thatch.
That is correct. Well, we get rid of any stuff that's not very good. We just take it down.
Take off that top layer. All right, so now you've spread out the bundles and kind of knocked them even.
That's right.
What are you doing now? You're putting in a hazel rod there?
Yeah, hazel. Sometimes people call them Sally, but we call them hazel. And just touch it off like so.
All right, you get it down.
Then we take out another hazel rod, right? And we just turn it as we bend it, so it doesn't break, right?
And then that forms a staple.
That forms a staple, and we fork it in, as we call it, right?
Fork it in. All right, down into the old thatch
Into
now.
the old roof.
All right, could you do that again and show me very
we'll
slowly
turn one
how
more.
that works?
Right. Okay.
All
And
right.
again, we'll fork it in.
That's it. So the sally across and then the spars
Then
down
the spars
in there.
down, so they hold it against the wind and everything like that.
And that's really all it takes.
That's all
Now,
it takes.
Where do you get the reed now?
Well, the reed grows mostly by the Shannon. Also by the lakes. Plenty of reed. So
I see.
it's very good. Maybe every 2 years you got to replace the ridging here, you see. This starts to go after about a year. So we just replace that and the rest is fine.
Rest is fine for about 15 years.
15 years. So there's no
grand.
real problems.
What time of year do you cut this now? Is it
Usually cut in the winter time, yeah.
in the winter?
And we stoke it for about a month. So the sediment inside drops down and it's much better then.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, so
All right.
that's about all there's to it.
So now
and
it's
just
in-
get on with the job and that's all there's to it.
And then you and then just beat it up
Beat
even
it
like
up and
that
touch
with
it
the
off
legged
again.
there.
That is correct, yeah.
All right, well, Grant, well, Jerry, thank you so
Good
much.
luck.
I appreciate it. Take care now.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Now, there's one bit of Irish woodworking that is inescapable. It's everywhere. It's on the door knockers. It's on the coins of the country. In fact, it is the national emblem of Ireland, the Irish harp. And this door leads to a place where harps are being made in a little shed in the back garden. And working away in this little back shed is a gent named Stephen Imbush. Stephen.
Hello there.
Good to see you, sir.
How you doing?
All right, very good. Now, Stephen, I understand you're a third-generation harp maker?
Yes, I am. My grandfather started back in the early 60s, and he passed it down to my father, and it got passed down to me eventually.
Oh, that's grand. Now, this is one of your grandfather's harps, is that right?
Yes, it is. This is an Irish folk harp made out of walnut. It's got 32 strings.
May I try it out? May I
Sure.
That's great.
Nice.
Now, he taught you how to make it, but did you change the way you build these at all?
Yes, I did. If we look at this one here, this is one of my own. I changed from walnut to mahogany. You can see the timber is different. And I also added in these semitone levers.
I see.
They raise the note by one semitone.
Let me try one here. So here's the lowest note. I see. That makes it easier for the harpists.
Yes, they can play in any key that they wish then.
I see. So the principle of the Irish harp remains the same, but the construction has changed. How are the old ones built?
Construction has changed slightly. The sound box, which is down in this area, used to be carved out of one single piece of timber.
Ah.
The whole piece was one. And nowadays, we take a very thin piece of wood and we bend it, and we add on a soundboard, which gives us the sound box.
I see. And if I move, could you show us how to do that?
Sure, if we put that down.
All right. I'll set this fellow on the floor. Ah, all right. And
over here, we have the jig, which is the mold that we're going to get the back of the sound box to.
I see.
We're going to put it to that shape.
So you make the jig first?
Yes, and if we could pass me this.
All right. The very thin piece of timber here.
And this is pressed into the jig, giving us the back of the sound box, the shape that we require.
So it's just this curved shape, and that's part of the strength, the curves and the triangles.
That's right. That's right. We could take a look at a finished sound box if we maybe bring this one over.
All right. Bring this fellow around this way, keeping a good grip upon it there.
Right. Okay. We put it back into position, and as you can see, the sound box has been created in here. This is a bass piece with a hole cut in it, letting the sound out into the floor when it's played.
I see.
And up here we have our soundboard, which is very thin pieces of Colombian pine.
Why do you choose that?
It has a very close grain, which we need because we need a lot of strength in this.
In fact, indeed, this is flat right now, but with all those strings on there pulling up, this will take a distinct bow, will it
Yes,
not?
it will. You have 34 strings all pulling up on the soundboard, and it needs to be pretty well constructed in order not to crack.
And that's why you have also this reinforcement here.
Yes, we add in a reinforcement at the point which the string meets the soundboard.
Now, the other end of the strings, of course, are on this, and this is called, again, the...
This is called the harmonic curve, and we add this on, which is joined up in this position, and eventually the 4-pillar is added on, giving us the basic shape of the harp like this.
Now, is this tenoned in up here and glued
Yes,
and all?
there's double tenons added in here to give it added strength. Years ago, there was no tenons used, there was no joints. The tension of the strings kept the 3 components pulled together. So
the very strength of the triangle and the strings pulling it together, you could take it apart.
That's correct.
So you were doing some sculptural work on this. Shall I bring it around
Sure.
again and see how you do that now?
I was just doing a small bit of carving.
Oh, excuse me. Oh, right over your 4-piece there. All right.
Small bit of carving over in this direction.
Again, working in mahogany. And how long will you work on a harp?
I'll work for maybe a month on one harp, but it's great satisfaction.
I guess so. Well, how about, do you have the satisfaction also of playing them yourself? Do you ever play them?
No, I don't, unfortunately. I get great satisfaction out of making them and have never learned to play.
You have to listen to others. Well, if we may, I think we're going to head off in search of someone who can play one of your harps. So, Stephen, I thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Fortunately, thanks to the work of teachers like Deirdre O'Brien Vaughan and her young students here, the traditions of Irish music will live on forever, both in Ireland and all over the world. So there's nothing left for me to do but to wish you 1,000 million blessings, and thanks for joining me, Roy Underhill, here in the Woodwright shop. So long.
Major funding for the Woodwright shop is provided by
State Farm Insurance, keeping our promise of protection to generation after generation. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
This Woodwright Shop episode is available on video cassette for $19.95 plus shipping and handling. Call 1-800-441-3000. Please have your credit card ready and specify episode number 1403.
This is PBS.
Roy Underhill is the author of The Woodwright Shop and The Woodwright's Eclectic Workshop, published by the University of North Carolina Press and available in bookstores and libraries.